Welcome back to another Mackem in the Middle podcast after another Sunderland game, another Sunderland victory, and another Sunderland midweek 5-0 win in the league. I'm joined by Dan, Michael, and John. And the first thing will be John. Hat-trick for Stuart, 5 goals, clean sheet, 9 games unbeaten, end Sheffield Wednesdays. I think it was 12-game unbeaten run. Not a bad way to end the year, is it?
No, it's not. It was a good night all round. Stuart with a perfect hat trick. He's been on a bit of a drought, so that puts to bed any worries in that camp. And it was I wouldn't say it was a perfect performance from start to finish, but I think it's a statement result. To not a lot of teams are playing at the moment. So it was nice to send out, Sheffield Wednesday are tough to beat. But, it doesn't matter how they played. I thought we absolutely tore them apart and sent out a message. And, we're top of the league. We're flying high, and, it's all falling into place at the moment.
Yeah. And obviously we got battered off them in the reverse fixture, Dan, 3-0. It was a completely different performance from both sides, wasn't it? Granted, I think Sheffield Wednesday probably started as the better team in the first probably 9 minutes. But after Sunderland got that first goal, it was a completely different side for Sunderland, completely different side for Sheffield. It was very much like chalk and cheese.
Yeah, it was a sweet win, all right. I agree with you. First 5-10 minutes, they were kind of on top. I thought the goal actually came against we want to play. But when we did get that goal, we just, for the first half anyway, we didn't take the foot off the gas. And it was great to see from that Sunderland team. Because it's something in the past we kind of got a goal and sat back. So it was good to see we didn't do that.
Yeah. And it was one of them games, Michael, that we go into. Obviously, Sheffield were unbeaten since the 2nd of October, I think it was. It was a game that we went into knowing that it was going to be one of the toughest games we'd played yet. But that first goal, like I said, we're probably against the run of play. We'll get into it a little bit more as we go on. But that first goal, there was a real, I don't know the best way to put it. I want to say weight off the shoulders.
It kind of released the shackles a bit somewhat, didn't it? Because I think the earlier stages of the game, Sheffield, I think, were slightly the better. I didn't think there was much in the first 15 minutes, to be honest. But I think Sheffield Wednesday, you could say, were slightly the better side. However, once we got I think getting the first goal, I know it's a cliche, but getting the first goal is so important, especially in a game like that when you know what's at stake. You win, you go top. And I think once we went in front, I think Sheffield just crumbled. I think it was just a case of we just got better and better. We found more confidence, and you could tell that their sort of game plan or their confidence just evaporated from them. And to an extent, there's a factor that they didn't play, I think, since the 11th of December. So to a degree, that's factored in. However, we take nothing away from our own performance. That's one of the best performances I've certainly, for me, that's the best performance of the season so far. At least it's an arguable fact to try and dispute, because the way we move the ball, the pressing, the way we managed to form the triangles, the way the players keep coming to receive the ball, the way the players were moving for each other, everything was just clicking together. And once we got in front, I think we just got the freedom to go and express ourselves like that.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll get into the game, but that win, Dan, takes us top of the table, ending 2021. I think it's the second time this season we've been top of League One. I could be wrong on this, but I feel like it's also the second time in the last 4 years we've been top of League One. And I said it on Twitter, and we've said this a lot in the past, but, when we've been on a good run in the past, people have said, this could be our season, and there hasn't really been much meaning behind it. But I feel like this season is different.
There is a different feeling in the air as a Sunderland fan. There really is. I know we get carried away and we're a real knee-jerk fan base, but I don't know. There's just something about this team and this season that I feel like Lee Johnson has just got it right, and the players have all kind of bought into what he's trying to achieve, and even like the lone lad showing passion. I just think there is a different feel this year than there has been previous years. And obviously, previous years, we've kind of been the team with all the games in hand. Whereas this year, it's Wigan and Rotherham, and all them are playing catch up on us. And I think that's a better position to be in, not having the games in hand.
Just to pick up on Sheffield Wednesday, you could tell yesterday, a lot of teams come there and they think if they can score the first goal, they can sort of maybe get the crowd maybe on the turn. And you could tell they were putting sort of everything into it. They were lumping just balls into the box just constantly. And it just, if I think at the moment, like the boys were saying, at the moment we've got a real sort of dig in. We don't normally start every game sort of absolutely flying. So it's important sometimes just to ride the storm almost, even though it was a poor storm. And just if you can then take chances, like they were saying, once we score, we're well on our way then, and then obviously you get the second, and then literally you've absolutely killed them, and they didn't really have anything to go. I think you even saw, obviously later on in the stage of the game, you saw Bannon sort of getting the ump and sort of totally lost his head. So you could tell that we totally had them. But it's the thing with this team that we know we're going to have to ride out sections of games, because we can't just control it all. But then once we do get in front and we are playing well, literally we can control the games, and then you frustrate the good players like Bannon, and then they can't do anything then.
Yeah. And just before we move on to the actual game, Michael, last thing I'll say about it is this really wasn't a League One fixture, was it? There was 34,000 there last night. I think there was about 4,000 Sheffield Wednesday tickets sold. Granted, there wasn't obviously an accident on the motorways where I think there was. I was listening to BBC Newcastle just before the game started, and there was one of their commentators had been sat for 4.5 hours and didn't move at all. But great following from Sheffield Wednesday. It was much like that from Sunderland in the reverse fixture. I don't think both teams will get promoted this season, but it just shows what can happen when two clubs have run so poorly.
Well, exactly, and I think as you've replied to a few Sheffield Wednesday pages, and I think I joined in with one of them and said basically this, at least for me, at very worst, it should be a high-end Championship fixture. I would even go as far as say it should be a Premier League fixture. To be honest, I still think we are the biggest club in this league, and I think there's quite some margin there. But you could make a case certainly for Sheffield Wednesday being second biggest. They're definitely not a small club, and it's one where we're both here because of incompetence. Whereas if both clubs were competently ran, at very worst, it would be a top 6 championship for both teams. And to be fair to them, even given the accident on the motorway, even everything that's happened, I think Chef Wed, their fans did them proud. To be fair, in my opinion, anyway, there was a good set. I saw a good corner of their away end was still bouncing and singing even when they were 5-0 down. Yeah. So fair play to them. I would feel a bit more sorry for them if they didn't batter us at Hillsborough. But but regardless, I do get your point that they're two clubs that should be nowhere near this division.
Yeah. We'll start talking about the goals. The first goal obviously came in 10 minutes into the game, Dan. Like I say, probably against a winner player. Ball from Diaku into Stewart. Very good finish. Looking back, I think Stewart is offside. But it is very close. It's not one of them where, it's a terrible refereeing decision, I wouldn't say. Obviously, it went for us, so I'm never going to say it would be. But very important goal for Sunderland in the game because Sheffield were definitely looking the better side at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 13 minutes in, and it was very marginal.
Wait, just to stop you there, Sheffield Wednesday. Just corrected myself. Made sure I wouldn't say that again. Sheffield Wednesday.
A few times,
yeah.
So.
I'm going to call them Wednesday for now. It's easier, isn't
it? So it was a marginal decision. I also agree. I think he was slightly offside, but we've had enough of those decisions go against us in the past to kind of justify it. Even yesterday, I think we had a Stonewall penalty that wasn't given, but should we get into that anyway? It was a good kind of one-touch finish with his bad foot, his left foot. And Peacock Carl had no chance. Like once he's 1-on-1 like that, I wouldn't pick any other player in the league to take the shot on.
Yeah. Just before we move on to the other goals, Dan brought it up there, and I was going to bring it up later, but I'll bring it up now, John. The foul, or no foul, on Lyndon Gooch in the box. I think it was at 3-0. I think it was. Anywhere else on the pitch, it's a free kick, obviously. And at 0-0, that is probably a penalty. And that's now 2 games back to back where we've been, where the game's been won by Sunderland essentially at the point of the incident. But it's not an excuse for referees not to give fouls like that just because the other team are winning.
No, it's not. I think the only thing I could think the reason he doesn't give it is I think Gooch leaned into him just slightly, and I think he is. To be fair, the referee's in a really, really good position.
Was it much different to the Bailey Wright foul though in the first half? If you remember, it was on the same side of the pitch.
No, it's not. But that's when that's when the frustrations kick in. And that's where you want the consistency. Why is it a foul there, and why is it not a foul in the box? And regardless of, the result, I was watching Match of the Day the other day, and Man City were flying, and they were 3-0 up, cruising, and still got a second penalty. And I was thinking, how can we not get those types of things? But then, we've got League One referees. We know the level they're at. I'm not quite sure. I'd go as far to say is they wouldn't give it because I think maybe the other day they probably didn't give it. When we were so far ahead against Doncaster, they maybe felt a bit sorry. But last night, I just think Gooch just slightly leaned into him a little bit, and I think the referee just thinks he's looking for it. But if it was me, I'll be giving them all day long. But I'm very biased, shall we say?
I think to point out as well, if we're talking about feeling sorry for teams, well, if that's the case, and then we're not given penalties because referees feel sorry for our opposition when we're comfortably winning, then the game should have been called off at Portsmouth then.
Yeah, very true. 2-0, Sunderland went in front, Michael. Ross Stewart again, this time on his right foot, finish right side of the box, bottom corner again. Alex Pritchard intercepted the pass on about halfway, ran forward with the ball. It's a good ball through to Ross Stewart and a very good finish. There's been, I don't want to say questions, but I suppose at times there has been, about how good Ross Stewart actually is as a finisher. But that second goal, that is very, very difficult and a very, very good finish.
Well, it is. It's a first time hit, and it's not from the best of angles either. He's had to get some quite good placement onto that to finish it into the goal. I think his first 2 goals. I mean, his third one. I know you'll get onto it later, but his third one pretty much headed from a couple of yards. Whereas the first 2, I actually thought were very good finishes. He did well. He did well to get the composure, to keep himself calm, and high pressure situations well in both cases. So he managed to finish off both of them really well. And yeah, look. We're all comparing him to Charlie Wyke. I know it's the first time. I think it's the first time I've mentioned him for a while, and obviously, hopefully, he gets better soon. But you can just tell that Ross Stewart's got that extra bit of class about him. And to be fair to him, even when he hasn't been scoring, I don't think his performances have dipped all that much. He's at very worst, he's above average whenever he's played. And but like I said, that'll do him. That'll do him so much confidence, so much morale, and it's just great to see.
Yeah. And obviously, we said it was a great finish by Stewart, Dan, but that play from Alex Pritchard, we've talked about him so much since he signed. Again, first few times that he did play, a little bit disappointing. He was getting fit. He hadn't played much football prior to coming here. But, since he's been fully fit, since he's had a run in the team, he is far too good to be in League One.
Yeah, I think he was absolutely quality, and he was quality again yesterday. He kind of led our press, and our press was excellent yesterday. He drove forward with the ball. He was kind of always looking up, always looking for the right pass. And the way he nicked in and got that ball was just quality, excellent. And then he obviously played in Stewart, who finished well. But yeah, I think we do need to give a special mention to Pritchard because he was unplayable yesterday. Unplayable.
Sunderland went 3 goals in front, and I think at that point really killed the game. Sheffield, as soon as the first goal really went in, looked like they'd given up. Certainly after the third goal, it was a corner. Pritchard again whips it to the back post. Flanagan heads it back towards him, and it's Callum Doyle at the front post, I suppose now, to head it in, John. Good to see Doyle get on the score sheet, but 2 defenders combining for a goal, and obviously another defender getting an assist later on in the game.
Yeah, that's what you want. You want them to be a threat in there, and that adds a different a different dimension to the game. Fair play to Flanagan I think they have been working on it. You've seen it in the last few weeks. We've been sort of Flanagan, right at the back because we know he's good in the air. It's just to loop it straight back over. And the marking's poor, but you've still got to go and finish it. And fair play to Doyle. I think he probably deserves it. He's another one who I think his performances haven't really dipped all season. He's been very consistent, especially for how young he is. So I think it's very deserving. And like you say, I think it absolutely sort of put the nail in the coffin to Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah. Sunderland obviously 3-0 up at half time, came out second half, and wasn't too long before we made it 4-0, Michael. Ross Stewart getting his hat-trick, and it was Bailey Wright getting the assist. Good ball into the box for Stewart at the back post to head in to what was essentially almost an empty net. And I think it's fair to say Stewart, before then, could have probably had 2 or 3 more goals. I think he had a couple of headers saved from close range, but that header meant it was the perfect hat-trick for Stewart. Again, we talk about it every single time we record a podcast, but in terms of confidence, in terms of momentum, granted the next game has been postponed, so you're looking at like 8 days before the next one, but that hat-trick for Stewart, everyone playing very well, that can only bode well for the next few fixtures.
Absolutely. And that's, like I said with Ross Stewart, the goal itself, the third one, was just pretty much a header, but you've still got to be there to finish it off. Chef Wed's marking's non-existent, but you've got to be there to finish the chance off. The ball from Bailey Wright is just incredible. It's basically like an Alex Pritchard level cross, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
But momentum, but like I said, it is all about momentum. And in some ways, I think that the boys have earned a good few days off now because we don't play on, I think it was Sunday, wasn't it? We were meant to be playing against Fleetwood. Obviously, that's not happening now. So I think that just give yourself a couple of, if I was Lee Johnson, just give them a couple of days to recuperate, just rest up, spend a bit of time with families, and then just to start of next week, start praying for Wickham. But that sort of result is, for me, very different to the 5-0 against Morecambe and Cheltenham, where that's not a bad team we've just beaten. That's a side that's just below the playoffs, and if we're being honest, with the quality of players they got, should easily finish in the playoffs. Whether they will or not is a different question, but that's not a bad side, and to sweep them aside like that, if we're not going to get confidence from that result, like actual proper confidence, then I don't know what result will do it for us.
Yeah. Well, at 3-0, the game was won. At 4-0, it certainly was. Dan Neil was brought off. Benji Kimbioka came on, and within about 4 minutes of coming on, got himself a goal, Dan. And for someone who, in previous games where he's played, he looks like he seems to have lacked a lot of composure in them games, but flat finish, you can't knock him for that.
No, he actually took the goal very well, which is quite surprising given previous with Kimpioga. But no, in fairness to the lad, and he could have had a second as well.
Yeah.
But he hit and stayed at the keeper, if I remember correctly. But no, he kind of took the ball at an angle and nutmegged the keeper. Decent finish. I thought he should have played it back across there, but you can't argue with a goal. So fair play to him.
Yeah. And do you think he could play a part this season, John? Obviously, I think he's getting his chance purely down to injuries at the moment. But, so many players in the past have done that and thrived from it as well. Obviously, Dion Sanderson last year wasn't really in the team until we picked up a few injuries. He came in and was a mainstay in the team. And I'm not going to say Kimpioka will be, a similar kind of player in the way that he's going to come in, start every game now, because he's not. But he certainly looks like he could play a part this season.
Yeah, I think definitely. He's obviously been given the chance. That's obviously has to be earned because he's gone away, to a couple of teams now and not really sort of pulled up any trees. And then you would have thought he'd come back here, just see out his contract and sort of be on his way. But it's probably nice to see that maybe the coaches have got hold of him and like the guys were saying, probably before he was quite erratic in his finishing, whereas he doesn't know how much time he's got, and he sort of manages to get the ball under control and pick his spot and finish it, sort of expertly almost. If the coaches can get hold of him and sort of, I thought his wing play was really good, to be fair as well, like sort of holding up and keeping the ball and passing and moving, not necessarily just absolutely going forward 100 miles an hour. So I think you can tell that the training is rubbing off on him, and that's that's really good to see. And like you say, it's he can definitely be an asset in the squad, and he's up there alongside your O'Briens, who are just sort of bit part players. But if you can bring a guy on, and he's a threat on goal. If those games are tight and he can come on and do that, then like you say, that's a massive asset to have.
Yeah. We're going to play ratings as we do around about this time. And Michael, I'll start with you on Hoffman. I went with a 7. Obviously, I would love to give everyone a 10, but I'll be very boring. So we'll go with the ratings we actually believe in. But yeah, 7. Obviously, made some important saves in the opening 9 minutes really. Probably the most important part of the game, because if Sheffield take the lead there, it's a completely different game. It's a completely different approach for Sunderland and for Wednesday. But after that first goal went in, he was largely a spectator. But I'd stick with 7.
I would have gone with a 6, but you reminded me of that. You reminded me of how crucial he was in the opening 10 minutes. So yeah, we'll say 7 for that. And really, those are the type, like I said, those are the type of games I want the keeper to have in this league, where he doesn't really have all that much to do, but he's switched on when he's called on.
Yeah, and John.
Yeah, same. I go for 7. Again, I thought his distribution was good, and he's played his part with keeping us in the game. He has to remain concentrated throughout the whole game, because we know it gets very boring playing in goal at times. So yeah, I was quite impressed. Yeah, 7.
Yeah, and last but not least, Dan.
Yeah, 7 from me as well. Didn't have too much action to deal with, but when he had to deal with the action, he did it well. So yeah, solid performance.
Yeah. Leon Diaku, Dan, we'll start with you. Obviously the pass for Stewart's opening goal was a very good pass. Very smart, and again, it shows his kind of progression as the season goes on. Because a few weeks ago he wouldn't have made that pass, he wouldn't have seen that pass, but he did. Worked hard throughout, caused issues for Wednesday. So again, I'd probably go with a 7. I think there was a few times he was caught out defensively and certainly physically as well. But again, consider his natural position as a winger, you can sort of forgive him for a little bit of a defensive error at times. So 7.
I went with an 8 for the Jaku. I think he got 2 assists in the game, and he was an absolute nightmare for the Sheffield Wednesday defence. And you can see he's improving the whole time defensively as well. He's kind of tracking back on that. It was non-existent there for the first few games, but he's getting better at it, and that'll only improve as the season goes on.
Yeah,
you got an 8 for me.
John.
I'll probably go for 7. Again, I thought he was very good going forward. I think they targeted him a little bit as soon as he had the ball. They sort of went for him, sort of quite physically. I'd like to see him sort of maybe bulk up a little bit, and then just a couple of little defensive. Sort of they're playing in the ball in behind him. He needs to maybe sort of see that. But nothing. I don't think there's anything to worry about. So yeah, I'll go for 7.
Yeah, Michael.
I'd probably agree with Daniel, actually. I think I'd go with an 8. I think there was one or two occasions early on in the game when he tried to take on his man and was just too physically weak to get past him. But later, as the game grew on and he could tell that the game was going in our favour, I think he timed his runs really well on the right-hand side. And I think that more times than not, I remember Sunderland going forward came through his side of the pitch. Obviously got an assist or 2 to his game, and I think he's just adapting. But I think, to be fair, and I've been one of the biggest critics of Diaku actually this season, but recent games in the last month, he's been really good. Can't lie.
Yeah, and back to you, Michael, on Bailey Wright. I would probably go with. I'm probably gearing towards a 9 for Bailey Wright. Obviously got the assist for Stewart's third and final goal. Defended well throughout. Never really gave Patterson or Gregory a sniff in the game. Which, considering the physicality and experience them to have between them, is not easy, to say the least. Played the ball very well when he had it at his feet, so I'd probably say a 9.
I think his general performance was an 8. I think he was very, very solid. If I say general performance, I'm going to bump it up to a 9 for that assist, because every time I watch it, I just think it's brilliant. I think and that's from a centre-half who's playing it right back as well. That's a really, really good ball. I just think they proved this. He's justifying my opinion on him as why I really rate him for this league, where he's someone whose his organisation, leadership qualities, I actually think has been so under the radar in terms of the last few weeks, because it's helped us to get results. And if you have someone like, and the only concern I have with him is if you can keep him fit for majority of the next 4 months, which is going to be a bit of an ask.
Yeah.
But if you have someone like that at the back, people underestimate how big that is for the rest of the team. It's so vital. I can't say anything. I'll stop there because I'll just be repeating myself over and over again.
John, for you?
Yeah, I'll go over 9. I thought he was excellent yesterday, and for I don't want to say turnaround, but for to get up to the level that he's at now, I probably can't even remember Carl Winchester playing at right back now. He's done that well. He's good going forward. He's good on the he's very, very good on the ball. I think he's a little bit underrated on the ball.
Yeah, I don't think anyone knew how good he was on the ball, and I don't even think he's been that good on the ball in previous seasons or in previous games. But these last 5 games, he's looked so confident on the ball. He looks like a midfielder at right back, kind of like Winchester at times.
Yeah, he sort of plays like it's almost like a sort of a midfielder, stroke centre back sort of that plays that role just out wide. It's quite a strange one, but we know last season, he'd get the ball and he'd sort of just ping it, out of play and stuff like that. But now where we're seeing sort of Stewart actually making the runs and getting them behind, it's perfect for Wright's distribution. But yeah, fair play to him for, easily one of his critics, sort of 2 months ago. But yeah, for him to shut me up, I'm more than happy to take that on the chin.
Yeah. And Dan?
Yeah, he got a 9 for me as well. I've been very critical of Bailey Wright in the past. I never rated him that highly, really. But I thought he was unbelievable yesterday. I think he's a revelation at wing back. His assist was very, very good. It was a great ball. And he's playing behind Ijaku as well. So obviously he has a lot of covering to do. And he has a lot to... It's kind of a big job, kind of telling Ijaku where to be and when to track back and that. Because he's kind of coaching him through the games as well. And I think he's doing that very well. So, yeah, 9 for me.
Yeah. Tom Flanagan, John, out of the 3 centre-backs or 3 natural centre-backs, I'll say, because I still have no idea who plays where. He's the only one that didn't. Well, he did actually. He got an assist, didn't he? So, yeah, I'll say 9 as well for him. I've literally drawn that out because he didn't get an assist, and I just realised he got the assist for Doyle's goal.
Just blame it on the booze. Just say that you're married. You won 5.
But yeah, Flanagan, I'd have him up there with a 9. Again, another one. He's probably up there with, sort of player of the season, absolutely machine at the back. Again, very, very good on the ball and keeping it organised with Doyle and Bailey right there, and just to deal with the physical presence as well. I thought he dealt with that, fairly with ease. Almost, and he gets the assists, so he's a bit of a machine in the other penalty area as well. So yeah, very, very impressive him.
Yeah, Michael.
I'd probably actually go with a 9. Come to think, I was debating between 8 or a 9, but again, like Flanagan, like John said, he's up for player of the season, and I think in terms of defensively, I think Flanagan was probably the best of the back line, where I think he got the blocks in when he needed to. His positioning was absolutely spot on. Every time that Sheffield tried to put a ball in the box, Flanagan was just always in the right place to deal with it. So yeah, and it's the type of performance I love from defenders. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and Dan?
Yeah, I've gone with a 9 as well. I agree with Michael there. He was always in the right place at the right time. He was casual about it as well. He never really looked like he was in trouble. He wasn't troubled by Sheffield Wednesday at all. And obviously he popped up with the assist as well. So the 9 for me was a great performance from Flanagan.
Just to add on Daniel's point, that's not easy considering the forward talent they've got as well.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Callum Doyle, Dan, again, 9. Obviously got his first goal in professional football, I think it is. And obviously the first goal for the club. Again, just handled the physicality well, played the ball well, looked confident defensively. So again, 9.
Yeah, 9 for me as well. He took his goal well. He really deserved that goal because he's shown a lot of passion and a lot of bravery, a lot of courage. Really wants to play for this club and he really wants to win for this club. So I'm delighted he got his goal. And he really dominated the Sheffield Wednesday kind of forward line. I think in previous games he didn't like the kind of rough and tumble of League One. We got exposed for that a couple of times, but he's really become accustomed to it now, and they didn't have a chance with that back line we had. Doyle was pivotal in that, so 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, agreed again. Obviously did. The funny thing is with his goal, I saw the referee point to the halfway line, and don't ask me how.
Yeah, I'd do this every time. There was one of the games where I can't remember who it was, but there was a team that scored against us at home, and
Charlton,
I think it might have been, and I think there was talk about a foul in the penalty box on a Sunderland player, and then the referee pointed back to the halfway line, which I also interpreted as to him pointing that way to give Sunderland a free kick. And I think a lot of the crowd did as well, because I think it was an ironic cheer.
Yeah,
Charlton fans
exactly.
stopped.
Well, what I was going to say to build on that was I actually thought the goal had been disallowed. I thought there had been a foul. So basically I went from, oh, for God's sake, to, oh, get in. So I went like that in the space of that in about 10 seconds. So that was just a funny thing on the third goal. I just didn't think it was allowed, so I didn't celebrate it as much. But as his general performance, you know, again, it'll do him the world of good to get a goal. It was very good to leap in front of his man and get the header at the back post, at the near post. So overall 9 as a collective unit, can't complain.
Yeah, and John.
Yeah, same. I've gone for 9. You know, we know he's playing well above his years. He's just an absolute rock there, and it's just a perfect sort of piece back there. You know, and getting his goal. You know, like I was saying earlier, he absolutely deserves that, and you know, I'm already ready to cry when he goes back to Man City.
Yeah.
Don't worry, John. If we get promoted, we'll have him again for another year.
Yeah. Gooch, John, I'd probably go with 7. I think in the first half his end product wasn't great, caught out defensively a few times. I think there was one time in particular, again at 0-0, where Hoffman was called into action for one of the only times in the game. It was kind of Gooch who'd lost his runner. But second half improved. Unlucky not to get an assist when Stewart had his header at the back post, somehow saved on the line by Bailey Beacock foul. Again, I think he should have had a penalty. Ross Stewart, I think that was a 3-0, so Ross Stewart would have probably took the penalty anyway. But I'd probably go with a 7.
You know what? I'll probably be generous here. I'll probably bump him up to an 8. I thought he worked his arse off last night. A lot of off the ball stuff. I think I only noticed once when he lost his man, but to be fair, he did get back in very, very quickly. I think it's easy to play a lot like forward when you know we're sort of in control of the game. And then second half, I think he ruffled a few feathers, which is always good. You know, calms that Bannon down. You know, we know he's a very good player.
Yeah.
And I thought to be fair, once Neil went off, I thought Gooch actually kept the tempo going. It's easy to go into a bit of a lull, sort of the whole team, and just think, well, we'll just play out the rest of the game of nothing, and maybe you know, almost invite them to see what they can do. So I was quite impressed with you know when he sort of went into midfield and he was, you know, he kept the tempo going. So yeah, I'll bump him up to an 8 for that.
Yeah, and Dan.
Yeah, I gave him an 8 as well. I thought he had a solid enough game, although I don't even think it's fair to say lapses of concentration, but he kind of lost his man maybe once or twice. I thought his ball in was great to Ross Stewart. He should have been converted. Obviously, it was a great save by Peacock Farrell. And he's just, as I can say about the whole team, he's looking far more solid as of recent than he had before. Even going forward, he was always inconsistent, and he'd have one good game and 3 bad games. But now he's just looking far more consistent and far more solid. So yeah, 8 for me.
Yeah, Michael.
8 as well. His again is the thing I bang on about all the time. His decision making was much better when he didn't try to play Hollywood balls from his own half. He didn't try to skin loads of players like he's Ronaldo in his own half. He just kept it simple, and just released the ball when he needed to, and released it only when there was a good option to do so. So yeah, 8.
Yeah, and I think the only thing that he hasn't improved yet, John Lyndon Gooch, is his ability to control his frustration. I think he was very lucky not to get a card after that penalty didn't go his way, because he looked like he wanted to murder that referee the way he ran after him.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, well, you know, but you know, I mean, the players we've had in years gone by, you know, that you know will just sort of toss it off and you know don't turn up. I probably won't be too annoyed at someone showing a bit of passion, and you know he probably knows as well. He probably was on penalties after Stewart had his hat trick, so I would have thought he probably wanted a goal for the day as well. So I think the coaching staff did get hold of him when we brought Pritchard off, I think, and just said that just calm yourself down, channel a bit. And then after that, I thought he was very good. But yeah, maybe sometimes we just need a bit of that passion. But yeah, he just doesn't need to be, you know, Corey Evans. He maybe needs to get on and say, hey, just calm down, get on the ball, do your thing, let them be frustrated.
Yeah. Michael, Corey Evans, we'll get on to now. A player that, to put it simple, hasn't been very good since he signed. But today, yesterday, he was much better, kept the ball ticking in the middle. You could tell he's played at a high level at times, the way he kind of reads the game. Certainly defensively, it seems to be in the right place a lot. Still a few times he was losing possession, especially in the first half again, just needlessly, or kind of spend a little bit, a few too many seconds on the ball. But much improved performance from him today, and similar to Pritchard, I think it'll come down to how many games he plays and how fit he is and whether he can stay fit. He's played championship level most of his career, so there's definitely a player in him. It's just about getting him match fit, keeping him there, and utilising him in these kind of games. So I'd probably say 7.
Yeah, I think 7's about fair. I think he probably had the solid but the most unspectacular game out of everybody. I actually think with Evans, I think when he first came in, I think his first couple of games, I actually thought he was really good. I actually thought he showed I don't know what the right word is. I think he showed a little bit, not so much class, but he showed that he's played at championship level. But agreed, in recent months, he hasn't. When he has played, he hasn't set the world alight, to be fair. But yeah, it's that again, it always comes back to that question: how many games is he going to play across the season? So if you can keep him fit enough, then maybe. But we'll wait and see. But as for yesterday, he did nothing wrong. Just wasn't as I think he just looks as unspectacular because a lot of the other players were so good.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, I'll probably go for 7. I thought he kept us ticking over quite a lot, and I think it probably didn't help that Sheffield Wednesday had the ball in the air, sort of most of the game. So a lot of it just passed him by. But maybe with his injury record, it was nice for him not to get involved in the absolute hustle and bustle of a midfield scrap because he.
Looks like we've lost John. So, Dan, I'll go to you.
Yeah, he was a 7 for me as well. I thought even in the first 5-10 minutes he was a bit of a calming figure for us. And he lets Neil play. He lets Neil go forward and kind of be more adventurous and play that more advanced role. So I think that's quite important. And we have been very critical of him even on the podcast, but you can't fault him yesterday. He was very, very good.
Yeah. Elliot Embleton, again, I'd probably go with a 7. A higher 7 than Evans, but I don't think he was quite at an 8 yet, Dan. Obviously unlucky not to get a goal when he had that long range effort saved in the second half. A very good save from Peacock Farrell. But yeah, worked hard all game, linked the play well, so I'd probably say 7.
Yeah, and again, I'd agree with that. It's a 7, and I go to I love to see the passion from players, which I mentioned it a lot, and you could see that yesterday when he got involved in kind of tussles and everything with the Sheffield Wednesday lads. You can see I love to see it. I love seeing players that want to play for us and want to win for us. And Embleton is another one of those. He was unlucky not to score. He forced a couple of saves, and he's very good at that, isn't he? The kind of shots at the edge of the box. I think he had one against Arsenal as well. He's good at that. So a couple of them going in the season will be flying. So yeah, very, very good performance again from Embleton. Higher 7 than Evans, but yeah, still a 7.
Yeah. And John, 7.
Yeah, same, go for 7. I think he was just outshone a little bit more by the others, but still kept the ball, good ball retention, and probably still a good another sort of piece of the puzzle in that midfield to allow Pritchard to do his thing, a little bit further forward. So, and like guys were saying, I love the passion of getting involved and getting stuck in with players now and again.
Yeah, he had Barry Bannon's life in that second half. After that incident, he was always in his face, laughing at him or saying something behind his back. Love to see that. Michael?
Proper shithousery, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think with Barry Bannon, funnily enough, he was one of the players I think the Sheffield Wednesday fans were resigned to losing. So, and it tells you that tells you how well Embleton must have done against him. As for Embleton himself, yeah, I think I agree with what Daniel said in particular. I think it's a higher set. I think what you guys said, higher 7 than Evans, but not quite enough as an 8. But I have noticed one thing I would want to touch on with Embleton is that I've been a bit critical of his movement and work rate off the ball. And in the last couple of games, I think that's got significantly better. So hopefully long may that continue. But as the others have said, and John said, he just got outshined by everybody else, but he didn't do anything wrong himself.
Yeah. Back to you, Michael. Pritchard, based off the fact we went with a 9 for Flanagan, Doyle and Bailey White. I think I can only go with 10 for Pritchard, which again, for 10 rating, you tend to have a very, very good game. And Pritchard's been that player for the past 3, maybe 4 games, even against Arsenal. Van the midfield, Wednesday couldn't get anywhere near him. Got the assist for Stewart's second goal. Very good run, very good interception, very good pass. And keeping him fit, I really don't see how anyone could say he's not the best player in League One at the current time, at least.
I think objectively you can't argue against it. Certainly, at least at the moment, he's certainly one of the most formed players in the league. For rating, do I go with a 9 or a 10? Oh, I'm going to be generous. You've convinced us. I'll go with a 10. He's the type of player, again, he's just cut above this level. That his intelligence, his intelligence for the way that the length of time he held onto the ball for the second goal just epitomises the class that he's got compared to a lot of teams in League One. So just keep that guy fit whatever way you can.
I think the thing is with that goal as well is there's so many times where obviously Pritchard was the furthest forward then when he won the ball. So many players in the past when they've been in that position have slowed down completely and allowed the opposition to get back into position and close the channels and essentially win the ball back. But it was a strange one because Pritchard didn't really travel awfully far after a certain point. Yeah, we're still running at full speed, still going forward. And like I say, the awareness to know where Stewart would be, the pass was inch perfect. It was just a very good goal from start to finish.
Well, it was because, and I think the way you've just described it there is that Pritchard didn't go slow enough to allow Sheffield to get back, but he slowed down enough to allow Stewart to make the run to receive the ball to score the goal, if that makes sense. So his decision-making, all right, like I said, the length of time he held onto the ball, the weight of the pass, the angle of the pass, everything about it was just really, really well done from Pritchard. He won the ball. He basically made that goal for Stewart. So, again, whoever convinced him to drop down to League One deserves a pay rise.
Yeah. Dan, Pritchard, 10?
Yeah, 10. He's a real Rolls Royce player at this level, isn't he? As I said before, he led our press and he drove forward. He's really important to how we play the game.
Yeah.
The way he picked out Stewart was quality. Anything else? No, I just thought he was excellent. He's a very important figure in that team.
Yeah.
And I think we do need to keep him fit at all costs.
Yeah. John?
Yeah, I can't really touch on much more than you guys done. I'd go over 10. Like you say, he's a Rolls Royce for a player, down here, and is just not to panic on the ball, and he's surrounded by players on the goal, and then that Stewart then knows to make a gut busting run. And the players we've had previously, your Max Powers or your whoever else in that position would not have had the the confidence and the ability to hold on to that ball, wait for a pass, and then make an inch perfect pass where Stewart doesn't really have to do anything, just sort of slightly past the goalkeeper. So all round, and it was Pritchard who wins the ball as well from the high press. That's a massive part of our game at the moment, and he's very much integral to that. So nothing else we can say really. A 10.
Yeah. And last but not least, Ross Stewart. John, I'll go back to you for this one first of all. I'd have to say an 11 out of 10 for Ross Stewart. Perfect hat-trick, never stopped working all game like he has done ever since he signed. His first 2 goals are very well taken, very good finishes. And you just couldn't, put a single fault on his performance last night. So a 10 would be undeserved, and 11 would probably suffice.
Yeah, happy to go with an 11. Like I say, perfect hat-trick. Still, it wasn't just 3 goals we're talking about. This is all-round play, hustling, harrying, considering he's done it, against Doncaster as well. So for him to keep going for 90 minutes and absolutely blitz them. He probably had a couple of other chances. He probably should have done better. But if your striker scores a hat trick and a perfect hat trick, then there can't be one complaint.
Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, 12.
Yeah,
go with a 12. Let's just bump them up a number. What could you've touched on it already yourselves. First 2 goals, very good finishes, good placement. Good positioning for the third one. He's just like Pritchard, wrap him in cotton wool. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Last but not least, Dan.
yeah, just the scale doesn't go high enough for him, does it? Just absolutely unbelievable again yesterday. His work rate off the ball every single game. I mean, immense. Obviously, he got his hat trick, well deserved, great finishes, and it kind of makes me wonder last season if we'd given him more of an opportunity rather than kind of chucking him on the wing to give Charlie Wyke a chance. If we could have got a bit further, but no complaints this season. He's been immense, absolutely immense.
I just add to that with obviously saying about last season. I think the best that we looked last season for me is when we played Plymouth away and he played lone striker. That's when we looked really like an all-rounded team. I think Wyke was missing for whatever reason, and Stewart played and he got in behind with his pace. And now we're seeing that every single week, and his hold-up play again. I don't want to mention the striker from last season, but we look so much better. With Stewart there last season for me, sort of an all-round team, and then like this season, we're seeing the benefits.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say, John, when Wyke left, Stewart was the main striker. Everyone kind of came to the same conclusion that we would accept that Stewart probably won't get the same goal tally, but that he will benefit us going forward overall. It's at the point now where Stewart has a very good chance of getting that goal tally, if not beating it this season.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and with fair play to the the scouting team. I think Johnson was saying that they were looking at him before even the Sunderland job came up for him. So fair play to him, and we've got a much more all-rounded player, like you say. When he is going to get the chances in this team. Well, now we've got sort of Embleton firing, we've got Dan Neil, we've got Pritchard, we've got Winchester, we've got players to come back, and we've got Deaku, and the amount of chances these players are going to get, it's gone from very much a one-dimensional, get the ball to McGeady, get it in the box, and Wyke will score. That's good, and that did work to some extent, but now it's much more all-rounded. Ross Stewart can play on the floor, he can play in the air. Bailey Wright's crossing it in, and he's at the back post, scoring a header, and he can score all types of goals. I think we've been very, I don't want to say lucky, because obviously there's been a lot of thought out process in the background, but everything is falling into place. So we've got a proper, all round good striker who hopefully, can grow with us as we go through. If we go into the Championship, you still expect him to maybe take that step up and still flourish and build with us. So, it's one of those absolute masterstrokes from the club.
Just to point as well and build on what John said, that when you look at the tactic last season, when we had the ball, basically the tactic was give the ball to McGeady, cross, Wyke scores. That becomes so predictable that teams know how to defend against it. But with all the attributes that John's just pointed out about Ross Stewart, teams will have a nightmare defending against that, because they're trying to win the battle in the air. He's good with his feet then, so that leaves that outside of the game exposed. It makes us so much more unpredictable going forward in a good way. So it's just chalk and cheese. It's chalk and cheese.
Yeah. Stewart, man of the match. Don't think anyone's going to disagree with that.
No.
All the way.
Well, the next game's Wycombe on the 8th, which is on Sky Sports once again. Obviously, Fleetwood was cancelled, which was due to be played on Sunday, which is a little bit disappointing now with Sunderland in a good run of form, I'll say. When the games come thick and fast, it can sometimes be a bad thing, but when you're flying like we are at the moment, keeping the momentum is key. So hopefully that doesn't run out against Wycombe. That'll be a very tough game. And predictions for that one, John?
I think that's going to be a bit of a battle. I'll take a scrappy 1-0 win.
Yeah, Michael.
I'll go with me heart. I think I'll say we'll win 2-1, but it is like John said, it's going to be a physical battle of the game. But just to quickly point out, Wycombe and Lincoln are our next two games. Wigan don't play again in the league until 15th of January, so there's a chance here to really create a gap over them and put pressure on them. So let's hope we do it. But yeah, for Wycombe, I'd say maybe a slight 2-1 Sunderland.
Yeah, and Dan?
Yeah, that win against Wycombe would be huge for our promotion chances. I'm going with 2-1 as well. I think it will be very difficult, and I think Wycombe will have their chances to kind of nick a draw or even win, but I can see us winning it.
Yeah. Well, I said 4-0 for this game last night, and I'm going to say a 3-0 for Wycombe. I'm always going to be that person. Hopefully it happens again. But that is all the time we have for today. Obviously, this is going out on New Year's Eve, so next time we record a podcast, it will be 2022, which is very satisfying to say because it just rolls off the tongue, that 2022. So, Michael, John, and Dan, I wish you all the best in the new year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
And
Happy top of the league.
Absolutely.
Even better.
And of course, Happy New Year to everyone who is listening. But we'll be back to talk about the Wycombe game in just over a week's time. But until then, we will see you later.
That's all, folks.